Shalom. First and foremost, giving all praises, honor, glory, and worship unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Chakodash. Double honors unto the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and greetings and salutations unto you, Achim, upholding the testimony of our Lord and Savior, Yahushai, in truth and sincerity. This will be an overview of Revelations, the 18th chapter. Most likely, I'm going to do two parts. I'm going to break it up into two parts. So this, most likely, you'll know by the end of the video based upon the title. But most likely, this will be part one. Revelations chapter 18, verse 1. And it reads, "And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the whole of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird." Now, in the 17th chapter, it spoke on the nuclear destruction of America. So when it says Babylon the Great is fallen, the falling of Babylon is speaking of America being destroyed by missiles. Now, the unclean birds and things of that nature, that's speaking of America being a desert wasteland after the nuclear destruction. It's going to be as unclean desert type creatures that will be that inhabit this landmass. Verse 3, "For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication," meaning they participated and indulged in the philosophy of the beast, which is the philosophy of America, all right, which is basically the repackaging of the Roman Empire's philosophy. It says, "And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies." Right. Different nations and the merchants of the earth have gotten rich off of exporting their products to America, because America is the greatest consumer-based nation that the earth has ever seen. And so all nations heavily trade with America. America is most nations' top trading partners. All right. Now, of course, now in the recent years, China has come in the midst to be influential in trade as well globally. But America is one of the primary importer of goods. All right. Let's see here. Of her delicacies, verse 4, it says, excuse me, verse 4, "And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people." And that's speaking of the elect being delivered before the nuclear destruction. That's to come out of her. "That ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you." And that's going to be through the judgment of Yahushai. It says, "And double unto her, double according to her works." So America is going to be judged for, creating these monsters that you see that you call young niggas that's making our women to be whores, the transatlantic slave trade, you know, poisoning our people through so many different means, destroying our households, humiliating us on a global scale. So now it's a consequence. And the consequence is thermonuclear missiles. Because you're responsible for it. It says, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. And the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. Verse 7. How much she hath glorified herself, and lived deliciously. Because America and Americans live very bountifully, very lavishly, and compared to the other nations of the earth, and at the cost of who? The masses of the people. These other nations of you got children in Africa, starving to death because of policies of the beast that ultimately control the financial systems of those countries, set up corrupt officials, allow people, finance wars, steal the minerals, and meanwhile, people are going to Whole Foods and buying organic steak in America. Yeah, so the consequence again is missiles. Let's see here. Vegan protein shakes. While people are dying and being decimated throughout the earth by your hands, you're responsible for it. Let's see. Verse 7, it says, how much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. That's what the elites of America and the American people say. Oh, I'm on a level. Oh, we're going to do this for another 30 years. We're going to do this for another 100 years. Oh, I'm going to cash my pension in. Nope, not going to happen. Let's see here. Verse 8, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire. And that fire is through thermonuclear missiles. It says, for strong is the Lord Yahweh who judgeth her. See, he's strong, very strong. All right, verse 9, it says, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her. And the kings of the earth are these different, oligarchs of these different societies that make a lot of financial revenue off of trading with America, making business deals with America. It said they're going to bewail her. And basically, they're going to be sad because America got destroyed, because now they can't make any more money. It says, and lament for her when they see the smoke of her burning, because the thermonuclear destruction, they're going to be able to see the smoke. One is going to be publicized on different television channels, but also from a far, far distance, that smoke will be seen, and even in different countries. It says, verse 10, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. How is the judgment of the mighty city Babylon, America, going to come in 1 hour? Well, because through thermonuclear missiles, America will be destroyed within 1 hour. It's going to be quick. It's not going to be a protracted war where it's, oh my goodness, we took this state, set a garrison up, armies just, marching up from South Mexico, and we're besieging the cap. No, the intercontinental ballistic missiles are going to be shot, and it's going to end quick. "1 hour is thy judgment come." Verse 11, it says, "And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore." Right. When America is destroyed, everything is going to fall. Right. China, their main trade partner is America. China's going to fall because they're not going to be able to make any money. The Chinese, the Pakistanis, all these nations their economies are interconnected. Nobody's going to buy their goods anymore. All right. Verse 12, the natural resources, all of that. Nobody's going to buy it anymore. It says, "The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and of fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all fine wood and all manner of vessels of ivory and all manner of vessels of most precious wood." So like cedar, oak, these different wood. They import a lot of wood from these different nations, from Brazil, from these other nations, It says, "And of brass," which is natural resources that's needed for industry. They're not going to buy them anymore. It says, "And iron and marble and cinnamon and odors," so like herbs, frankincense, things of that nature. It says, "And ointments," so different, cosmetics, different oils, cold press oils, things of this nature. Olive oil, medicine. Ointments also goes into medicines, serums. It says, "And fine flour," so wheat, "and wheat," which fine flour is processed wheat. Is wheat that's been. It can be wheat or corn, but the point, I'm just going to keep reading. It says, "And beasts," which is livestock, and other different animals. It says, "And sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men." So the slaves are like, these people that come to America, try to, get some opportunity to work. And they low-level people, they peasants in the other nations, they're considered to be slaves. It says, "And souls of man." It says, verse 14, "And the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee," which is their enterprise, their New World Order. All right. The microchip system is going to lose. It says, "And all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all." Wow. Verse 15, it says, "The merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught." And that's why you shouldn't put your priority in your love in this world. Your passion shouldn't be in this world, because whatever you have in this world is going to come to naught quick, soon, in a hurry. I mean, if you're not right with Yahweh Shem Yahushua, well, you're just going to perish with it. And it's going to be in a painful way. It says, it says, for in 1 hour, verse 17, for in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning. They cried. It says, saying, what city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust in their heads. So they didn't literally cast dust on their head. That's a symbolic gesture of them being humbled and being in a state of mourning and depressed, because the people, they're going to be depressed when America gets destroyed by thermonuclear missiles. It's going to be a big deal. It says, and cry, not because they love America, but because they don't have any other way to make money. It's going to be bad for them. It says, saying, alas, alas. Let me see. Weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas. And we're in verse 19. That great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness. For in 1 hour is she made desolate. Verse 20. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her. The Lord got him. Verse 21, it says, and a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone. Wow. It says, and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. The America is going to be like say for instance, you take a huge millstone and you throw it in the ocean. Nobody's going to find that millstone anymore. It's it's gone. It's at the bottom of the sea, somewhere in the seas. It's gone. It says, wow. Verse 22, it says, and the voice of harpers and musicians and of pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee. No more music, no more this fest, no more, rave, no more, concerts, no more country music awards, none of that. Oscars, Hollywood, all of that's going to be destroyed by missiles. It said, be heard no more at all in thee, and no craftsman or whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee, and the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. That's talking about basically, production, processing, processing plants like factories and things of that nature. Processing, good raw goods, food, just work, business. It represents labor, essentially. Verse 23, it says, and the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. Not even a candlelight. Nobody's going to cut on a light, not a flashlight, none of that. No more flashlights. Verse 23, it says, and the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee, for thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. The nations were deceived by America. Silly rabbits. And you heard it first from the Israelites. We told you the truth. You didn't want to believe it. You didn't want to believe you were going into slavery. You're going into slavery. Verse 24, and in her was found the blood of the prophets, and that's why they want to kill us. That's why they will kill some of us, because of our testimony. Same reason they killed the Messiah. It's like, hey, I thought the Messiah was a good guy. Why'd they kill him? Well, yeah, that's why they're gonna kill us too. It says, and the saints and all, pardon me, and of all that were slain upon the earth. You know, because America is going to be responsible for the murder of many, many people. Their plan is to damn near exterminate the majority of these people. So these guys are murderers, and it's a consequence. It's a price to pay. It's a divine price from the heavens that is inevitably, you know, they just have to deal with. That day will come. And it will come soon after the mandatory implementation of the mark of the beast, which is the RFID microchip. So I do hope this lesson was edifying. I'm going to give all praises, honor, glory, and worship to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rachakudash. Double honors unto the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations unto you, Akim. Shalom, and keep the faith.